Hello, beautiful souls. Victoria here from Soul Healing Tribe and the Awakening the Healer Within Training Program.com. And today I want to talk to you about forgiveness. This is one of those controversial topics because even in the healing communities or shamanism communities where people are like all about forgiveness, when you really talk to them outside of medicine, outside of that sacred space, where everything is magical, and then you come back to reality and you talk to them about forgiveness, sometimes people get very angry because the forgiveness process takes you to the other side of understanding that everything was meant to be for your higher consciousness, for the evolution of your soul. So those traumas caused to you are energies, teachers, shadows, whatever you want to call them, that are there for your benefit to assist you in learning who you're meant to be and who you're supposed to become. So this can be very triggering. So I'm going to ask you to keep an open mind while we have a conversation about this so that we can receive what we need to receive without prejudging the conversation, right? So when we think of forgiveness, a lot of people think, I have to forget what happened to me. That's what it means. And I'm not willing to do that. And forgiveness is not about forgetting. Forgiveness is about truly going to a deeper process of understanding what part did we play in it, why our soul chose to go through some of these experiences, or even if we didn't choose to go through these experiences, which, you know, that can also be controversial. What can you make out of the experience, even if you didn't choose to? And honestly, this can also, the third point that can be controversial is, if we didn't choose to, then who is responsible? Is it entities, or is it dark forces, or is it just malicious, evil people that have a very black heart, dark heart? And it's like, we can go through the ins and outs of why it shouldn't happen. But if it happened and you're receiving this message to tap into this conversation, it's because it already happened. So now let's look at it from, it already happened. What can I do to get out of the trauma cycle that I'm in due to that trauma? So I think we've talked about before, what happens when we are experiencing a trauma. Let's say in childhood, you around 5 years old, little you experiences a trauma. This is little you experiencing a trauma. And the trauma, let's say someone telling you you're going to be useless. So let's say this person is telling the little you, you're going to be useless. The power that they use to give you that message can be very strong or very weak. And strong if you accepted that message at that moment because you were little, you didn't know any better, or whatever it is. Now, the same thing can be told to somebody else, and they will say, no, that's not true. It might affect them, but it might not affect them as someone that says, oh my God, they are right. Even though I'm 5 years old, I still have consciousness. And if my consciousness says you are weak because in past lives I had to deal with the same thing, that message is going to be strong. It's going to be so strong. You're going to feel it different than someone that doesn't have to deal with feeling weak. Now, if my trauma is I was sexually abused in past lives, in other experiences, what's going to happen is that if someone even looks at me interesting, like, oh, you're beautiful, and they're looking at me with weird eyes, and this one is about sexual trauma, and they're looking at me with weird eye, even if they only look at me. I might feel all that they are feeling because I already have an energetic imprint that understand the energy of sexual abuse. So if they dare to even just go by me and touch me when I'm 7 years old or whatever, or do this or touch me inappropriately in a private part, now this is no longer just a little touch, which shouldn't happen. But for this person that already has a lot of past lives with sexual abuse, it's going to be a very, very serious situation where it might feel like they are being molested or sexually abused over and over again because their soul is still trapped in those past experiences. So anything here that triggers that is going to amplify it. Just like someone that says you're weak, you're powerless, I'm that person that says me, I'm going to be my soul is in other experiences also feeling powerless. So just by one person saying you are powerless, you're useless, this can trigger me to the point that it feels like somebody's really beating the crap out of me, because in other past lives, in other parallel realities, my soul is experiencing the same thing. So something so small that somebody says to somebody may create a big intense emotional reaction because the soul is reliving that moment over and over. And now by you bringing it into consciousness in this reality, you amplify that. So why does this matter? It's because when we're working with forgiveness, we have to also understand that we have to go back to those moments to release the soul from the trauma. The soul is in a past experience, whether it was yesterday or 10 years ago or 40 years ago, 60 years ago. The soul is in a past experience and it relieves that experience over and over in a constant loop, which is why sometimes with something so small, like let me share this. So if you have issues with someone calling you useless, you're going to have issues with resting, because it's not okay to rest, because otherwise you're useless. So you might always be doing something to be of assistant or to be a good person, because it's a bad thing to be useless. So it's a bad thing to rest, because resting, for some people that have this issue, feel like I cannot rest. I always have to be on the go-go. I always have to be doing something useful. So you get home after working 10 hours and you get home and somebody says to you, you shouldn't do, let's say you're watching TV, you shouldn't do that. You know that you shouldn't be doing that. Why are you watching TV? You should be doing something else. That triggers you immediately to have such an intense emotional reaction that may bring tears to you, because how dare they not see that you just finished working 10 hours a day and you just need 30 minutes rest, right? Or someone that, I'm trying to see if I can give another example, or just think about it. You're coming home, you work 10 hours, you're tired, you gave all of yourself to whatever you were doing. You get home, have a little bit of dinner, and you're going to rest. And maybe your wife, husband, or partner, or son or daughter wants something from you, and you just need 1 hour to leave everything behind so that you can rest and put yourself back together. But that's not okay, because in their eyes, maybe your work is so good that they think that you have it good. You get to be out. You don't get to be with the kids or your parents, if you live, whoever, whatever. If you are doing something that you enjoy, they might think it's not work. They enjoy that stuff. So when you get home, it is your duty to do something, right? It is your duty to be of assistance, to help with the kids or clean or whatever. So I hope you get the point. My goal is to help you understand that something so small, and that's why I'm doing this talk, because I think we need to bring self-awareness even to us as those that are walking this path already, how we may also trigger other people, not only just ourselves. But when the soul is going sometimes you talk to someone and you say, I only said this little thing. Why did that cause such a big problem? Because they have so many issues with that thing, they're trapped. So anything that triggers that memory amplifies what the soul is feeling in that other experience. So it's good to be aware of this. But let's go back to forgiveness. When you're working with the forgiveness, you're not forgetting, you are going through the process of going deeper into perhaps what did the soul needed to experience? Why did it need to experience that trauma? What were you supposed to learn from that trauma? And learn not just because you're a bad person in another life. I don't believe that that is the case. What I believe is that in order for us to become who we're supposed to be here, and we are all supposed to be beautiful, loving human beings that are helping each other. And a lot of the people on this platform, on this community, are healers, are waking up to their healing abilities. So my goal is to help you understand that the trauma that you experience is an opportunity for your soul to teach other. How do you teach someone something that you haven't lived yourself? So you have to go through the years of the suffering. You have to go through the moments when life feels like it's never going to end because of the trauma that you experience, in order for you to know what you can give to others, to your family members, friend, community, planet, and so on, the universe. So when we have a trauma of, in my case, it was of my abilities. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. For somebody else, could be shame. It could be feeling responsible. It could be feeling lonely. It could be feeling hopeless, powerless. It could be, and I think at the same time, the depression in childhood that I had in regards to the ability can be related to powerless, feeling powerless because I cannot change the whole planet by myself. I am powerless. I cannot change this. I am powerless. I cannot see this. What are they going to do to me when I'm, 5, 6, 7 years old? And you're seeing things that are very weird. And you're like, oh my God, I'm powerless. They're going to kill me, or this just, well, that wasn't my problem. But for somebody else, maybe, where you feel like you're being attacked to the point where you're going to die or your family members are going to die. My point was that it was scary, weird crap, and that was the scary part. But the one that was so bad was the feeling of hopelessness, because I knew people were going to die and I didn't want to deal with that. So when you think about your traumas, even if they're spiritual trauma, what did you learn from it? And why was it so important for you to be able to go through that for your soul, in order for you to be able to assist others? There is a belief that I have, and my belief is that a lot of the past lives that we have are programmings that we agree to in order for us to understand what we're supposed to be doing here now. So yes, we may have had regular lives, but a lot of the programs, which is why a lot of lives can be very magical or very important, because those are the programs that we're taking down. For example, a lot of people go into lives where they were Mary Magdalene. Well, how many Mary Magdalene could it be? And how many timelines can it be? And eventually, I understood very quickly when I was doing, a couple of years ago, when I was just doing quantum healing and taking the shamanism to therapy work, that some of these lives are programs. They are programmed so that we can overcome the programming. And when we start overcoming the programming, just like in the Matrix, we start understanding energy in a very powerful way. So if we take that back to the forgiveness, what is the forgiveness that you have to give yourself or others for the trauma that they have caused you? That I want you to close your eyes and feel that energy. Who do I need to forgive? And let that memory come into your picture, that image. And where do you feel that energy? That resentment, because before forgiveness is resentment. When you feel that resentment, where do you feel it within your body? Go from up all the way down to the tip of your toes. or it could be here or anywhere. The deeper that you feel it in your body, the deeper potential for healing it has for you. So where do you feel the resentment of the trauma? What was done to you? Where do you feel it? If it was in childhood, you're going to probably feel it between the stomach and the heart, or the throat down. A lot of the time it's going to be in the heart and the stomach, because that's where we hold a lot of the energies, a lot of the traumas. So when you start thinking about the forgiveness process, where do I feel this energy of the trauma? And if you feel it, if you really do feel it, it's because there's still work to do there. And then what do I have? Who do I have to forgive? Let that image come into your space. And then, am I willing to let go of this? Am I willing to let go of the idea that I don't have to carry this wound anymore, that it doesn't have to affect me anymore? How has it affected you over the years? Are you willing to let go? Are you willing to let go of the victim within you? Because that's what it is. There is a victim within you that is saying, poor me, I have to hold on to this because who am I without this, right? That's one version. The other version could be anger, because you're still going through the different processes, the steps of forgiveness. Angry, no, I'm not willing to let go of this because they owe me and they have to pay for this and I hate them. Well, when there is that energy, there is a lot more that needs to be worked through. But if you are in the process of, I am willing to let go of this, you can easily do that work when you start pulling out what it means. And if you're willing to do that work, then you have to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. What were they experiencing, feeling at that time? And you have to be willing to put yourself in those shoes. And sometimes you do need the therapist, the other person, because it's work that you don't want to do by yourself, because otherwise you would have done it before. But if you know the steps, you can start little by little until you get the energy, the strength to do it fully, or find someone to help you. So when you start going through the process of, let me put myself in their shoes, what were they experiencing? And can I let them go? Can I truly let that energy of the trauma go? Can I let it rest? Can I be free without it? It's okay for me to be free without it. And when you really feel it, then you're really doing deep work, because the steps is understanding that it happened, accepting that it happened, understanding that you don't have to forgive, but when you're doing the forgiveness, you do have to be willing to let go, because at the same time, what you're doing is you're freeing yourself from the wound. You're letting the trauma stop ruling your life. So it's not about the other people. You don't need to be friends with the other people. You don't need to even be talking to the people to do this, but you have to be willing to do it for yourself and talk to yourself, reflect, meditate, accept, take the responsibility, see the other people perspective, be able to take that energy from your body and release it. And there are different things that we do to do that work within the sessions that obviously I cannot share here. It will take forever, but when you start doing this work, you're going to feel a lot of emotions. You might cry, you might want to hit something, you might want to take a pillow and talk to the pillow and yell at the pillow, or go on a drive and start screaming. But when you're screaming, you got to be saying what you need to say. Otherwise, you're just going into shock. So I hate you because you did this to me. You ruined my life. You didn't know any better. How can you do this? Or, a child that, I don't know why that just came into my image, an adopted child that is grieving the fact that the biological mother and parents were not there. Take the pillow and start talking to the pillow, or go on a drive and start screaming and saying everything that you need to say so that you can take that energy out of your body. Once you go through that, eventually you might even have dreams with these people. Pay attention to how you feel, what you feel in those dreams, and what they say and don't say in those dreams. And then you might even get to the point where you actually forgive each other, or you forgive them if you're the one that needs to forgive them, and yourself, your soul. And that frequency of forgiveness is one of the most pure frequency that I have felt in my life, because it's so loving and kind, and you see yourself as the other person truly. And this is not just from here out, from the mouth out, this is from the heart in, deep within you feeling you as the other person, and truly being grateful that that experience, the wounds are closed, are over, and you don't have to continue to repeat them. And you feel that unity consciousness that you don't feel if you're doing fake work. If you're doing fake forgiveness, it's going to be from the mouth out, from here out. It has to come from deep within your heart. And when you tap deep within your heart to do this work, the frequency of forgiveness, now it may not come fast because there's more lessons that you need to learn. So don't put yourself down. If it takes you a year to forgive someone, to do this process, this is something that you will want to do. If you really have someone in mind that you want to forgive immediately, you might want to do this every day for 30 days. If it's something that, it might take a while because there is a lot of lessons there to learn. It may take a while, and that's okay, but don't stop doing the work. The forgiveness process is one to understand, let you tap into who you really are. And when you do the forgiveness process, you also decipher part of the reasons why you're here, your purpose. Because if it's a trauma that is very deep, that means it's part of your purpose to overcome it. And therefore, it's part of what you have to offer to others. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I hope you got something out of this. I just wanted to share the gift of how beautiful it feels to be one with everything. And when we are one with everything, there is no someone outside of you hurting you. There are only different energies there to help you tap into your true purpose. So I'm going to leave it here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Thank you.